Hey there, Corinne here. What if the answer to you feeling unfulfilled and maybe worn out in life right now, or potentially not feeling seen, disconnected in your relationships, your marriage? What if one of the answers to shift that is by you coming closer to yourself first, closer to what works and what doesn't work? Closer to what lights you up and what quietly drains your energy, closer to the longing that you feel in your heart, what interests you, and closer to your creative power, which really provides the fuel for you to make necessary changes in your life and relationships. Because you are not a victim. You have the power to take things into your own hands, to stand up and voice what you need, and to really start becoming the leader of your own life. And not in a forceful way, but by just getting in touch with your life force, yeah? And with your creative power, because you are a creatress. And if I'm losing you here right now because you're like, well, I'm not creative. Maybe you are creative, but I'm not creative. Then I just want you to hold on for a moment, because I believed that years ago as well. And that's because I looked at creativity in a very, or through a very narrow lens. Yeah. I thought of, creativity in this classical sense of artists. Artists are creative, a painter, a singer, a film producer, or a writer, or a poet. Yeah. But as I said, this is a very narrow view of looking at creativity, because creativity is about anything that lights you up, that makes you feel like you're alive, that inspires you, and, that anything that you can express. Yeah. And that can be simple things like decorating your home so you feel, really good in it and it brings you a lot of joy. Or it can be in the way how you dress, dressing in a way that feels good and is, fun to you. So creativity, yeah, it is about bringing something out of yourself, a project, an expression, a way of how you relate to your partner, yeah, in a way that it is truly you, yeah. So we cleared that up. So believe me, you are a creatress, even though you don't think you are right now, yeah. And let me come back now to what I wanted to initially share, which is really this, coming closer to yourself, and how from there you create fulfilling, happy lives and relationships. So earlier this week, I sat down and did something that I call the Creatress Midyear Reset. And what this really is, it contains first a review of the past 6 months, yeah, and then a preview of the next 6 months, because we are coming up to summer solstice. It's that mid-year point of the year, and so this is a really good time to just take stock and look back at what worked and what didn't work. And as I said earlier, look at what lights you up and what is quietly draining you. So I gave myself more or less a whole day for this process. And, I'm going to take you through this process now so you can do this for yourself if you wish to. I did this for my business, but I also did it for my life, for both, Um, but since I'm really helping women more in their lives and in their relationships, I'm going to talk to you about like the different section that I looked at while I did this for myself. So basically, I looked at the past 6 months, and one of the first section for me is my marriage. Yeah. My marriage is obviously a very big part of the life section. And so I looked at what were the moments where I just felt very connected and fulfilled in my relationship with my husband. I also looked at, well, okay, where were maybe the tension points? What needs tending? Maybe potentially where would I like to see a shift or a change? Yeah. Like for me, one of my love languages, and I'm not sure if you're not familiar with the concept of the five love languages, then this could be something interesting to look up. But my love language, my primary one, is quality time and touch. And so for me, that is what I look through these two lenses. Okay, was there enough quality time in my marriage with my husband? Was there enough touch? That, of course, includes the whole realms of the erotic in my marriage. Yeah, so this is just to give you a little bit of an insight here. What I personally looked at my marriage, and I get very honest here. This is really about being honest and admitting to yourself what works maybe and what doesn't work. Yeah, and then later on we're going to come to that in a moment. Okay, so then for another very important section for me is family and friends. So I looked at what did transpire the last 6 months in this area. For me, that meant like looking at, did I have enough quality time with my family? Did I have enough quality time with my friends? Are there friendships that maybe feel draining, that, don't really work for me any longer? Are there things maybe in the family section that needs to be looked at? And so that was the family and friends section. Then I looked at community, health, and movement. That maybe you call that, maybe that would be exercise for you. Yeah. And I looked at, well, yeah, how do I feel personally for me now? How do I feel plugged in my new life here that I'm creating in Dubai? I have, how's that going for me? The whole community aspect. Then, of course, health. My health is very important to me. And so I looked at that and at movement, that for me includes, all the different, exercise, sports, movement stuff that I do, which is really, really important to me too. And then the last section was for me, personal growth and awakening. And yes, this involves, stuff that I'm doing, personal growth, things that I'm doing in my life with other teachers, with maybe a business coach too. How I'm showing up here, my personal practice, and so forth. So these are the sections that I looked at for the life section. And then after that, I had lunch. And after lunch, I came back. Actually, I did a little dance just to, get back into the mood of continue with this creative project. And so then I so knowing all that I knew now from looking and taking stock at the last 6 months, I then was like sitting down with the question of, okay, how do I want to feel in the next 6 months? And here I put down the clock. I put the clock on for 10 minutes and I just started writing. I'm a really bad drawer, so I don't draw, but sometimes people maybe want to draw here. But the question really was, how do I want to feel in the next 6 months in my life, in my business? And then I just free flow write. And this is a very interesting experiment because afterwards you can go back and just look through it. And it is a very uncensored way of just bringing to paper what's bubbling up, maybe also what is a little bit, in the unconscious. Yeah. And maybe you would censor. Maybe if the thinking mind comes in too much, you would begin to censor yourself. And I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to feel, okay, how do I want to feel? That was my question. After that, I asked myself, okay, so with all of what I know, of what I want to feel, what would this look like metaphorically? I like working with metaphors. I do that also in my coaching with my clients, because this can often reveal a lot of interesting things about ourselves. So then I had a bit of a metaphor image coming up there, which felt really juicy for me and just right. And this metaphor will stay with me now, something I can keep coming back to. I did make a little drawing of my metaphor, which, yeah, as you can see here, I draw like a 5-year-old. So, yeah. Anyway, we move on. And then the last thing I did here was, okay, so knowing all this, from here, now what would I like to do in the next 6 months about all this? What would I like to do? And again, I just did free flow writing, 10 minutes, put it all to paper. And then I had, basically, I call this like really a more like intuitive way of going about this review and preview. It's not an overthinking it. It's really just like seeing what is bubbling there in the heart, in the body, what wants to be seen. Yeah. Now, with all that, I did a little dance again, shake it all out. And then I came to the last bit, where last piece of paper here, where I had again the business section, the life section, and I did a preview. And so I went back to the marriage, family and friends, community health and movement section, awakening and personal growth, all my business sections too. And I mapped out, my preview. And so that was I did. Now afterwards, what did this do for me? Well, first of all, when you look at the review section, it gives you more clarity. It gives you clarity kind of where you're at. And that feels good to me. It also gives you clarity around, it's nice to see also, okay, because you forget, or we forget often, what transpired the last 6 months. And this is a way to not forget and also celebrate. I like that, like celebrate the things that worked well. I think this is an important part of this. And then what it really gave me, gave me clarity, direction, a sense of focus and joy about where I want to take myself the next 6 months. And not to say, obviously this is a rough outline, right? And we know, like, life happens. Yeah. We have to stay flexible and adaptable. We have to stay flexible to co-create with whatever, maybe curveballs life throws at you. But at the same time, this is like an anchor. Yeah. This plan, this map is like an anchor that I can come back to. And at the same time, I can stay fluid as I now go about creating and making necessary changes that I would like to see in my life and in my business. So yeah, I hope this little project inspires you to become creative yourself. And yeah, this weekend is a really good time to do this. Yeah. As I said, summer solstice, it's the mid-year at the end. Yeah, we're coming to the end of June. And it is a way to take agency. And that really feels empowering. Yeah. It feels empowering to know that you have agency. Yeah. All right. I'm going to leave it here now. I also just want you to know that I have recently started a blog. There's 2 blog posts already up there. So they are around, really reclaiming your voice for yourself in your relationship, but also, getting more in touch with your sensuality again, which will also help getting more in touch with your creative power again. And you can find more about the blog over on my website, CorinneConradCalder.com. Okay. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.